The morning rush at the busy corporate cafe was louder than usual. Employees were impatient, tapping their feet as the coffee machine sputtered and died in the middle of peak hours. The barista looked helpless, and the manager panicked until a man in worn-out clothes quietly stepped forward. He wasn't an employee or a technician, just a single dad delivering some office supplies to make ends meet. Without saying much, he rolled up his sleeves and asked if he could take a look. Everyone watched as he knelt beside the broken machine. Tools borrowed, hands steady, eyes focused. The CEO, who had just arrived for her morning espresso, crossed her arms, curious yet skeptical. She was used to experts, not strangers in faded shirts. But there was something calm and confident in the man's demeanor. Within minutes, the machine hummed back to life, brewing coffee as if nothing had happened. The room filled with surprise and applause. But what came next stunned everyone even more. When the CEO thanked him, an international client interrupted, speaking in French. Without hesitation, the single dad responded fluently. Then another spoke in Spanish, and again, he replied. Soon he switched between 7 languages effortlessly, each word rolling off his tongue naturally. The CEO just stared, speechless. No one knew who this man really was, or why someone so gifted was fixing coffee machines to survive. But one thing was certain, this was only the beginning of a story no one in that office would ever forget. The CEO, still stunned, invited the man to her office. She needed to know more. He introduced himself simply as Daniel, a single father trying to provide for his young daughter. Lilia's voice was calm, but carried traces of exhaustion, the kind that comes from working too many jobs and sleeping too little. He said he used to work abroad but didn't explain much more. The CEO noticed his hands calloused, yet steady, like someone who'd done far more than just repair machines. As they talked, Daniel's phone buzzed. A small, cracked screen lit up with a picture of Lily smiling in her school uniform. He silenced it quickly, embarrassed. The CEO caught the glimpse, realizing there was much more behind his quiet composure. When she asked where he learned so many languages, he hesitated before replying softly, "Life teaches you when you have no other choice." Later that afternoon, the office buzzed with rumors. Some said Daniel used to be a translator for diplomats. Others whispered he had once worked for a major tech company overseas. No one knew the truth, and Daniel didn't offer answers. The CEO couldn't shake the feeling she had met him before, that his appearance today wasn't just coincidence. Before he left, she handed him her card and asked him to stop by again. He thanked her politely, but there was something unreadable in his eyes, as if he was carrying secrets too heavy for words. And that mystery was only beginning to unfold. The next morning, Daniel returned to the building not as a delivery worker, but because the CEO had personally requested him. She wanted him to look into an issue with their new translation software, which had been giving wrong outputs during an important project with international partners. The company's reputation was on the line. Daniel hesitated, unsure why she trusted him, but agreed after she mentioned fair pay. He needed the money for Lily's school fees, and something about the CEO's tone told him this wasn't just about business. Inside the boardroom, Daniel quickly spotted the flaw in the program. The codes were misaligned, translations reversed in subtle ways that only someone fluent in multiple languages could notice. As he explained it, the team watched in disbelief. How could a man who once fixed a coffee machine suddenly decode complex linguistic software? The CEO studied him closely, sensing that behind his quiet intelligence was a story buried deep. Meanwhile, Lily waited outside the building with her backpack, drawing in her sketchbook. A kind receptionist offered her a snack, and as they talked, Lily mentioned that her dad used to help people from all over the world. That simple line caught the CEO's attention later when she overheard it. By evening, Daniel had not only solved the problem but also uncovered a strange pattern in the system's logs. Someone inside the company had been tampering with data in foreign language files. His discovery hinted at something much bigger, something dangerous. And for the first time, he wondered if fixing that coffee machine had drawn him into something he could no longer walk away from. That night, Daniel couldn't sleep. He replayed the day in his mind, the way the CEO had watched him, the subtle tension in the office, and the strange logs he had uncovered. Something about the tampered files didn't feel random. Whoever had done it knew enough to hide their tracks, but not enough to outsmart someone who truly understood languages and systems. He knew that if he reported it too soon, the culprit might vanish or worse, retaliate. The next morning, the CEO called him into a private meeting. Her expression was serious, almost unreadable. "Daniel, what you found yesterday, it goes deeper than just software errors," she said, her voice low. "There's someone in this building who's risking everything, and I think you already know it." Daniel felt a chill run down his spine. The office, usually bustling, seemed suddenly suffocating, as if the walls themselves were listening. Meanwhile, whispers began circulating among employees. Some noticed Daniel's unusual fluency, his quiet confidence, and started speculating wildly. Others were just anxious about the project and its looming deadlines. Daniel stayed calm, but every interaction, every glance, seemed loaded with tension. He knew he was being watched not just for his skills, but for the secrets he might uncover. By late afternoon, He traced the suspicious activity to an encrypted file buried deep in the system. Opening it revealed fragments of conversations in multiple languages, coded messages. Hints of a bigger conspiracy, someone trying to manipulate international deals through the company. The realization hit him. He was no longer just a single dad repairing coffee machines. He had stumbled into something far larger, and the moment of confrontation was coming closer with every passing hour. As Daniel studied the encrypted messages, a sudden ping on his phone caught him off guard. It wasn't from Lily or a coworker. It was a message from an unknown number, written in Russian. "Stop digging, or she suffers." His heart sank. Lily, suddenly. The stakes weren't just professional, they were deeply personal. Whoever had been manipulating the files now knew about his daughter, and that meant they were watching him closely, maybe even tracking his every move. He tried to stay calm, but adrenaline surged through him. The office, once a place of routine, now felt like a trap. Every glance from a colleague, every passing shadow seemed loaded with suspicion. Even the CEO, who had been supportive, looked uneasy. Daniel realized the problem went beyond software errors or corporate politics. There was someone inside the company willing to use any leverage, any threat, to protect their secret. Meanwhile, the CEO, unaware of the direct threat to Lily, had begun digging into Daniel's past. What she found was unexpected. His career overseas wasn't just about languages. He had been a consultant on high-stakes international negotiations, someone who had quietly dismantled corporate frauds in multiple countries. The realization that someone of that caliber was now working in her office, under the guise of a single dad, added another layer of tension. As the afternoon faded into evening, Daniel received another cryptic message, this time in 7 languages each line a puzzle pointing to someone in the building. The game was no longer about fixing machines or software. It was about survival, exposure, and protecting the people he loved most. The walls of the office seemed to close in, and Daniel knew the next move would determine everything but who would strike first. Daniel's pulse raced as he followed the coded messages to a secluded server room at the edge of the building. The lights flickered, and the hum of machines filled the tense silence. Inside, he found the culprit, a high-ranking executive he had trusted, frantically trying to delete files and cover their tracks. The executive froze when Daniel stepped forward, a calm authority in his eyes that belied the storm of fear inside him. "You're done?" Daniel said quietly, but the weight of his words carried through the room. Using his knowledge of multiple languages and coded systems, he quickly secured the files, locking out the executive before they could erase a single byte. The evidence revealed months of sabotage, manipulated contracts, hidden deals, and attempts to funnel millions through overseas accounts. The CEO arrived just in time, her eyes widening as she realized the depth of the betrayal inside her own company. When the police and corporate security arrived, the executive was escorted out, facing charges that would ensure they could never harm anyone again. The office breathed a collective sigh of relief, and the CEO turned to Daniel with awe and gratitude. "I don't know how you did this," she said, voice shaking. "You saved the company, and so much more." But before Daniel could answer, his phone buzzed again. It was a photo of Lily, smiling, but in the background, a shadowy figure lingered, watching. Someone had been following him even after the main threat was gone. Daniel's stomach tightened. Just when he thought the danger had passed, it became clear. The story wasn't over. The game had shifted, and a new, unseen threat was already moving in the shadows. Daniel held his phone tightly, staring at Lily's smiling face, the shadow in the background making his chest tighten. He knew he had to act carefully, not just for the company, but for his daughter. That evening, he called the CEO and explained everything, including the subtle signs of someone still tracking him. She immediately arranged extra security for both him and Lily, a measure that felt like a weight lifted off his shoulders. Back at home, Daniel tucked Lily into bed, her sketches scattered around the room. He smiled, realizing that despite the chaos of the past few days, he had managed to protect her and keep life as normal as possible. "Everything's going to be okay," he whispered, though a part of him stayed alert, knowing danger could still be out there. In the office, the CEO implemented new security measures, grateful for Daniel's skills and courage. The employees, who had once whispered about the quiet single dad, now looked at him with respect and admiration. His ability to fix machines, solve complex problems, and speak 7 languages had saved the company. But it was his integrity and calm under pressure that left the biggest impression.